Hi, Smack Daddy.
Hey guys.
So we're going to ask you a few questions about your new Pump Fitness. So let's start with, just give us a little heads up about what you're up to.
So I started since retiring. I retired right after the World Cup in December 2014. And since then, I actually was like in a bit of a, it's always scary to retire after playing for so many seasons and having that be such a big part of my life. And then I had ended up like owning a bar, a nightclub, and working a lot in nightlife just because, I was comfortable there and kind of grew up in my 20s kind of partying and just being comfortable with the queer community there. So then turned that into business. But I was pretty afraid with the retirement coming of like where exercising and where like that big part of my life, that I loved so much in terms of personal training and helping others, coaching, where that was going to go. So I really just like dug deep and had some introspection to do and figured out I had to go into that as a business. I had to keep training people. My experience with roller derby just like confirmed the huge passion I have for that. And even just for myself, a big part of my roller derby game was fitness and was, breaking my leg, coming back, like just being able to stay on top of the importance of all the physical aspects of playing the sport. So I've turned it into a business for now. Yeah.
Retiring. How did you come to the decision to retire? Like, was it an easy decision? Did you think about it for quite a long time? Or did the World Cup just seem kind of like the great sort of finale?
I had been planning it since, because we decided, my partner and I decided to have a baby. So that was, something to keep in mind in terms of the future. When I looked at roller derby, I thought, okay, she committed to having the baby, getting pregnant and all that. So she had to retire. She was actually playing also. And I kind of just negotiated an extra year, basically. I was like, I just want one more year. I also had been coming back from an injury and wasn't quite at the top of my game. So I just wanted like another chance at it to at least get back to like a better place. I mean, it was a decision that was made before starting the last season. Because of the World Cup, I thought it was a good season too to like stick around, play one more World Cup, and then retire. So it wasn't an easy decision, but for me, it was just kind of an obvious one. I wanted to work a bit more seriously in terms of, a next career move, which happens to be now this pump fitness and personal training and group stuff. So I wanted to be able to maybe buckle down because being an entrepreneur, you do need a bit more time and energy than maybe when you punch in and out of a job. So in terms of owning businesses and such, I thought it was it had to be done to let go of derby because, as we all know, it takes over a big chunk of our time and energy.
Yeah.
I might agree with that one.
Maybe slightly.
So, let's talk a little bit about your injury. You came back super fast and really strong, and we've had a lot of our kind of followers sort of always asking that question about rehabilitation and stuff. Mm-hmm. Have you got any like glowing tips and advice on that?
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of Facebook messages and people inquiring and people who are injured or coming back. And so I've thought a lot about this. And I think what I did physically, I was quite determined to come back and get back to a very strong gameplay. So that motivation really, made me super dedicated to my rehab. Everything the physios said, I did it. They make you like write the alphabet with your foot to get your flexibility back. No one does it. Everyone's like, A, B, C, okay, forget about that. But if you actually do everything every day, do the ice baths, do the work and like, and be smart about it, have the right people around you in terms of like physios or whatever kind of healers that you want to work with. And really just dedicate yourself to physically coming back because a lot of things happen that we don't realize in terms of like our hips kind of shifting if we're compensating for a leg injury or so looking at the body just like and really taking time to get it back to its good place. That I think I did properly and I really recommend that for everyone to really get, some help. But there's the whole other part of the injury is really the psychological part, and your heart and what happens there. For me personally, I had just finished the World Cup. I'd gotten MVP. I was like so pumped. Like I was like roller derby, like it just so like at like in my prime and like so innocent too. Like I remember this raw like energy of just like whoa, like you know, like that. And for me with the injury, I kind of lost that. And just like turned inwards a bit more and just became a bit more fragile and vulnerable. So I think the work to getting back to your confidence and, you know, surrounding yourself with those supportive teammates and stuff, like for me, I think that's like the part of injuries that's kind of just not addressed enough. Because the physical stuff, I mean, it's science, right? Like it's physical, it's seeing those professionals, following the guidelines, you know, pumping your body back up. But in terms of keeping your kind of raw passion and, you know, the innocence of just like having fun and being out on the track to not, you know, I think it's important to address that part in injuries in terms of like whether it's some sports psychology or getting the right books or talking to the right people to really come back slowly. Because I came back so fast, physically that was fine, but my self-esteem and like really my confidence was not there yet. So I think I untracked a bit in terms of like physically going for it and just being too much in a hurry. To then my heart didn't catch up. So for example, like last year I've been in the best shape I've ever been, but my heart and my drive to jam, for example, just kind of never came back because I came back so fast wanting to play. Well, I didn't work on like my confidence and slowly jamming once in a while and really building up. So I think taking time to kind of rebuild yourself to get back to that gameplay that you were at is super important.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good summing up of how I felt coming back from injuries as well. It's really good.
So one of the other things that you mentioned in your Derby Central article that you wanted to really be like a cornerstone of what you did was like the diversity and inclusiveness and sort of, you know, representing as large of a percentage of the community as possible. So in relation to that, how do you then feel there's a lot of like sort of focus on fitness now in the media now, in particular this kind of like fitspiration type stuff that we see everywhere, which in theory is good because it's showing and motivating people how to exercise, but on the other hand, it's only one very specific type of body and type of person that we're seeing. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, that's super important to me. I think the gym world and the fitness world is still, you know, pretty like heterosexist and pretty like, you know, the girls look a certain way, the fitness model looks a certain way, and then the guys, you know, it's all about being like a beefcake. And so like I think in general people are over that. Like I personally don't do CrossFit, but I think it's been good in terms of making like fitness more accessible to everyone and everyone be able to set goals, because I felt like a few years ago or prior to this like CrossFit, you know, craze, people were still just like feeling super insecure, going to the gym in front of the mirror and like, you know, waiting between sets. Like it's pretty depressing, really. And then you're wondering like why you're not motivated to go stand in front of a mirror and feel shitty about how you're not at the fitness you want to be. Like it's just like a bad, you know, vibe in general in terms of training. So I think the way things are going now is it's inspiring. People are setting goals. People are bragging online. Whatever helps them, like in terms of that accountability, I think has brought a lot of positive. But definitely in terms of the body types, I think it'll just, you know, it's like Derby. It's like any movement where, you know, it's counter culture. So let's say that like the beefcake dudes and like the, you know, that thin like breast implant kind of fitness model for women and butt implants now in particular, those using social media and posting pictures of ourselves, bragging about what we're doing at the gym and this kind of stuff, like I think just creating this whole other community that's putting out images of themselves will just shift the terrain naturally. In terms of my clients, definitely like I love having a range of people. I like having, you know, diversity in terms of genders and goals and all that. So just to me, that's just more interesting. And for now, that's what's happening. I mean, just within Derby, every person that I'm training, whether men's or women's players or even the juniors, like everyone has different goals. Every type of blocker is different. Some will be like, well, I turn around a lot. I use my chest a lot. So then we focus on that kind of work. So, you know, Derby just naturally brings a diversity even within that kind of athlete, you know? Yeah.
So talking about kind of the Derby, like what, it's a hard question, I guess. What are you doing? Like, how do you want to train Derby athletes? What would be like
yeah, I guess it depends. Like the first questions are like, I always ask them, you know, are they, okay, what's their ratio in terms of like playing time of jamming and blocking? So then we kind of, that definitely like can split things up a little bit in terms of the direction we're going. Then just, we have to talk very honestly, like how much playing time do you get, you know? And then so I know what they need to be, how they're training. If they're playing every other jam, well, we really have to, you know, do a lot of cardio, endurance, metabolism stuff. And then what are their goals? So we'll definitely train with like where they want to be as a player. And then I always ask like coach feedback, like what do the coaches tell you in general? What's that thing like I fall too often, or, you know, like everyone has that thing that coaches, you're just not explosive enough, you know, lateral movements, like we have like the same things kind of come up. So a lot of that actually is like the explosion in the lateral movements. I hear a lot of, and that's for both jammers and blockers. So we work a lot, like I work with a lot of tension bands, making them kind of be super explosive. And also because the nature of the game is inconsistent in its breaks, meaning like, so you can jam for 2 minutes and then the jam starts 20 seconds later and then that jam ends 10 seconds later and you're back on. Oh shit. Like, so this kind of like training is special and that I find super interesting. So I only work in supersets with my athletes. You're never doing reps and then sitting around. Like in terms of roller derby, I think it, you know, if you're jamming or you're working super hard, let's say push, 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 you're doing a few jukes and then you have to skate. You still have to like, so you're actually powering through the whole time. So I try to mimic that in the training. So if someone, you know, pushes a heavy sled and then they start doing some agility for 20 seconds, then I'll put them on a stability ball planking and I'm kicking the stability ball. You know, so like we're mimicking constantly all these different movements that happen during the game. So it's super fun to train derby athletes. I love it.
I agree. So this has been really great. Thank you so much for talking to us. We're going to ask you like kind of three quick fire questions.
Yeah.
You go.
Okay, so the first one is, what is your favorite exercise? You can only pick one. My favorite
exercise right now is sled pushing.
Sled pushing. Nice.
Yeah.
Good for the
crawlers or yeah.
Cool.
What's your favorite supplement?
My whey protein isolate.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What make do you use? Actually, I just added a little question on the end there.
For the supplement?
Yeah.
I use BioSteel. It's a Canadian. It's like the most natural. I've looked into it a lot, and it's like the best high quality. You pay a bit more, but it's worth it.
Okay, cool.
And the last one is, what is your pre or post workout snack?
Well, I don't snack before. I take a pre-workout drink, which has amino acid, like amino chain, hardcore, and a bit of an energy blend. So it has some green tea extract and this kind of thing. So just like a little bit of a kicker before. And then after, I always take my whey protein isolate, but just with water.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
I think that's all.
So, I think that's everything. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks, guys.
And it was, actually went a lot better than I expected. I didn't fuck it up too much.
Awesome. That's fun, guys.
We'll let you get back to your day.
Okay. Heading to the gym. See you later, guys.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.